Imagine this. It's October 1958. The cardinals of the Catholic Church have just elected an elderly, round-faced man as the new pope. He's 77 years old, and many believe he'll be just a transitional figure, someone to keep the seat warm while the Church waits for the next, real leader. But what nobody knew was that this man would go on to change the Catholic Church forever. He wasn't a politician, he wasn't a reformer on paper, and he certainly wasn't expected to shake things up. Yet, in just 5 short years, he would call the Second Vatican Council the most important church event of the 20th century. His name? Pope John XXIII. History remembers him as the Good Pope, a humble shepherd whose kindness opened doors that had been closed for centuries. Pope John XXIII, born Angelo Giuseppe Roncalli in 1881, became the 261st successor of St. Peter, serving from 1958 until his death in 1963. His papacy lasted less than 5 years, yet he became one of the most beloved popes in history. He was affectionately known as Papa Buono, the Good Pope, because of his warm personality, his humor, and his approachable nature. Unlike some popes who were remembered for grand political strategies or long reigns, John XXIII was remembered for his heart. But don't mistake kindness for weakness. Behind his gentle smile was a revolutionary vision. He believed the Church needed to open its windows, to breathe fresh air, and to engage with the modern world. His decision to call the Second Vatican Council shocked cardinals, inspired millions, and changed Catholicism forever. So how did a poor farm boy from Italy rise to become a pope who redefined the Church? And what can his story teach us about leadership, humility, and courage? Let's journey through his remarkable life. Angelo Roncalli was born in Sotto il Monte, a small village in northern Italy, the 4th of 13 children. His family was poor farmers, but they were rich in faith. From an early age, Angelo showed a love for study and prayer. He entered seminary and was ordained a priest in 1904. His gentle nature, combined with sharp intelligence, quickly made him stand out. During World War I, he served as a military chaplain, comforting soldiers in the trenches and caring for the wounded. It was here he learned the value of presence, not always speaking, but simply being there for people in their darkest hours. After the war, his path turned toward diplomacy. He served as a Vatican representative in Bulgaria, Turkey, and later France. These postings shaped his worldview. In Bulgaria, he worked closely with Orthodox Christians. In Turkey, a Muslim-majority country, he learned the importance of interreligious dialogue. In France, after World War II, he helped rebuild bridges between the Church and a nation scarred by war and politics. In 1953, he was made Cardinal and Patriarch of Venice. He became known as a pastor close to his people, visiting parishes, engaging with fishermen, and walking through neighborhoods with ease. By 1958, when Pope Pius XIII died, the cardinals looked for someone who could be a safe, temporary choice. Angelo Roncalli was elected, taking the name John XXIII. Everyone assumed he would just keep things stable until the next pope. But history had other plans. The Second Vatican Council, the defining act of John XXIII's papacy, came in January 1959, just 3 months after his election. In a meeting with cardinals, he shocked them by announcing his plan to call an ecumenical council. The last such council had been nearly 100 years earlier. Nobody expected this from a caretaker pope. John XXIII's vision was simple. He wanted to open the windows of the Church and let in fresh air. He believed the Church could no longer stay locked in its traditions while the world outside was changing rapidly. The Second Vatican Council, held between 1962 and 1965, addressed liturgical reforms, encouraged participation of the laity, promoted religious freedom, and called for unity among Christians. The Mass was no longer just in Latin, but in local languages, making it more accessible. The Church started engaging openly in dialogue with Protestants, Orthodox Christians, Jews, and other faiths. This was nothing short of revolutionary. Vatican II didn't throw away tradition, it revitalized it. And it all began with John XXIII's daring decision: a pope for the people. John XXIII became beloved because he broke down barriers between the papacy and ordinary people. He didn't hide behind Vatican walls. He visited hospitals, orphanages, and prisons. One famous story: when visiting a children's hospital, he told the sick kids, "You are the flowers of Jesus." His warmth touched hearts far beyond Catholicism. He would also step outside at night and talk with pilgrims who had gathered outside St. Peter's Square. One evening, he told them, "When you go home, give your children a caress and tell them it is from the Pope." That single sentence melted the hearts of millions. Ecumenism and dialogue. John XXIII believed the Church should not be a fortress against the world, but a bridge to it. He invited observers from Protestant and Orthodox communities to Vatican II, something unprecedented at the time. He also worked to repair relationships with the Jewish community, setting the stage for better dialogue in later decades. This spirit of openness was revolutionary for a church that had often seen itself as separate, even opposed, to the modern world. John XXIII believed that dialogue, not division, was the path forward. Encyclicals of peace. In 1963, as the world faced the Cold War and the threat of nuclear destruction, John XXIII released his famous encyclical Pacem in Terris, Peace on Earth. What made it extraordinary was that it wasn't addressed only to Catholics, but to all people of goodwill. The document emphasized human rights, the dignity of every person, and the urgent need for peace in an age of nuclear weapons. It influenced not just Catholics, but world leaders, including John F. Kennedy and Nikita Khrushchev. It remains one of the greatest papal documents ever written. One of the most profound insights about John XXIII is that true strength can be found in humility. He didn't look like a revolutionary. He wasn't young, charismatic, or politically ambitious. He was an elderly, round-faced priest with a gentle smile. And yet, his kindness changed the world. When asked why he called the council, he simply opened a window and said, "To let in some fresh air." That single gesture summed up his vision. Sometimes, leadership isn't about complex strategies. Sometimes, it's about opening doors, trusting the Spirit, and letting light in. Another insight is how he understood leadership. He showed that authority without love is empty. His papacy was short, but it demonstrated that sometimes you don't need decades to make a lasting impact. You just need courage to act when the moment comes. Pope John XXIII reigned for less than 5 years, but his influence still shapes Catholicism today. He didn't just change the way Mass was celebrated. He changed how the Church saw itself and its role in the modern world. He reminded us that leadership is not about clinging to power, but about serving with love. He proved that humility can transform institutions, and that even a temporary pope can become a permanent voice in history. In 2014, Pope John XXIII was canonized as a saint. And perhaps it was fitting, because his holiness wasn't in grand miracles or dramatic gestures. It was in his smile, his kindness, and his vision of a church open to the world. So what do you think about Pope John XXIII? Was he simply the good pope, or was he the revolutionary leader the church needed in the 20th century? If this story inspired you, please give this video a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. Together, we'll keep exploring the lives of popes who not only led the church, but changed the world. If you enjoyed this episode, you'll definitely want to see our next video, Pope John Paul II, the Pope who helped bring down the Iron Curtain and inspired millions around the globe with his courage and faith. The journey through papal history is just beginning. Stay with us.